Well, today on the campaign trail, it was all about housing, and I'm not talking about the nationwide shortage, but which prime ministerial pad our fearless leaders will live in if they win the election.
We would live in Kirribilli. We love Sydney and love the harbour. It's a great city, and so yes, that's the answer. You've got a choice between Kirribilli.
Kirribilli, a 170-year-old Gothic mansion boasting harbour views in Sydney's affluent lower North Shore.
Living in Canberra, Canberra in the Lodge.
The Lodge, the PM's official residence, nestled in Canberra's southern suburbs, a more modest 1920s sandstone manor.
It's a jewel in the centre of the capital.
Peter Dutton today unveiling his hot property pick if he becomes PM.
I think he takes Sydney any day over Canberra.
There's a fair bit of hubris behind that comment, I think, measuring up the curtains.
I mean, we all knew Peter Dutton loved Sydney Harbour and he ditches Brisbane for it at every opportunity. Tells you everything you need to know about this guy.
Except Dutton's not the only Liberal leader to shun the Lodge. John Howard, the first to set up shop at Kirribilli. Tony Abbott following suit, disclaiming the Lodge was undergoing renos, in part due to a possum infestation. While Malcolm Turnbull, also affected by renos, shunned the Lodge and Kirribilli in favour of his Point Piper home.
Malcolm Turnbull's got a lot of money. I think people know that.
Scott Morrison too, preferring his politics with a side of panoramic views.
It could be better, a bit more connected with normal people outside of the Canberra bubble.
I mean, Canberra's probably the place to be if you're going to be in Parliament.
Canberra's a bit of a boring place, so...
While Labor leaders have traditionally stuck with the Lodge. Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard...
having a wander in the gardens on a beautiful Canberra day.
And Albo.
I believe the Prime Minister should live in the Lodge. You know, everyone likes the harbour, but your job is to be close to where the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet is.
So it doesn't matter where our leader lays their head.
Remote working, it works for most other people. Why shouldn't it work for the PM?
Peter Dutton can choose wherever he would like to live.
As long as he runs the country properly.
I mean, I don't really want him in Sydney because it's closer to me.
As long as he's not near me, I don't care.
Well, news.com.au political editor Sam Maiden is here to tell us which house is better. What do you think? Does it actually matter where the PM lives?
Yeah, look, it does matter, I think, in terms of how they do their job. As you pointed out in their package, pretty much everyone has basically based themselves at the Lodge until we basically got to John Howard, who wanted to hang out at Kirribilli. And to be fair, he still came to the Lodge when Parliament was sitting. I mean, look, it hasn't always been perfect at the Lodge. I did go to a very nice dinner once with Julia Gillard where I was saying how lovely it all looked, and she said, really? Because there's possum urine running down the walls. The mental image has never left me, and not long after we had that delicious dinner with the possum situation, she had to be booted out of the Lodge so they could fix the roof because the possums had just been running rampant.
God damn.
Wow, how good Australia.
Yeah, I know. Wow.
Very typical. Sam, this could be smart, dumb politics from Peter Dutton. I mean, he can win seats in New South Wales, so he talks up the harbour and says what a great place Sydney is. But it's a dumb move because obviously what's happened here is you've got the Prime Minister Anthony Albanese saying, oh, he's measuring up the curtains, he's got the people, the furniture removalists are there on the way already.
Look, I think in fairness to Peter Dutton, he was just telling the truth, which he doesn't think Canberra is a very exciting place. And let me tell you, I'm shocked because, you know, we've got the National Library, we've got moose heads, you know.
Yeah, moose heads. Love
like
moose
we've
heads.
got some restaurants that are open after 8:30 at night. I don't know what he's talking about. And I think he just needs to stop being mean to us and, like, come to Questacon and we can, like, you know, go into the bouncy room where they treat you like an astronaut. Like, I don't know what he's on about. We're really exciting.
That room actually does sound awesome.
Yeah, it does sound awesome.
I'm interested in I sort of hadn't twigged until today that Kirribilli, as opposed to the Lodge, seems particularly popular with Liberal PMs. Labor PMs stay at the Lodge. The last few Liberal PMs sort of haven't. Is there anything to that?
Well, in fairness, Tony Abbott couldn't stay there because the possum urine renovation went forever. This is a true story. And when he was actually elected PM, he had to hide out in the AFP quarters, like he was living among the AFP in some weird little dormitory. It really got him going. And so he, you know, had to hang out at Kirribilli because they were still fixing the roof. And look, I can't remember the exact reasons with John Howard. It probably had something to do with the kids' schooling as well, you know, that they wanted to have a Sydney base. And that was also the reason, I think, why Paul Keating moved to the lodge, his whole family, because he had a young family and they wanted to stick together. So look, there's different strokes for different folks. My favourite story about Kirribilli, though, is still the time that when Tony Abbott got rolled, his staff wanted to put a big slippery dip down the hill. You know that big hill that goes into the thing?
Water slide.
And they were just going to... A water slide, right? And they were just going to have a big old party before Malcolm Turnbull turned up. And there was other stories I can tell you about some of those parties, but I don't think it's appropriate for this hour of television.
We'll wait for the book, Sam.
Yeah. Sam, you talked about, I mean, you've mentioned it quite a lot, this possum urine, like quite a lot. I didn't think
Made a big impression on me.
Well, of course, but I don't know, there's problems with Kirribilli as well. Have you heard about the turtle problem? I don't know if you could see that, but it was a turtle weeing.
Oh, God, now it's all happening. But look, I mean, you know, they've got Toto the dog.
Oh, that's true.
They have dog problems sometimes, and, you know, there's a lot of there's a lot of flora and fauna. And, of course, sometimes in Canberra, which is very beautiful, despite Peter Dutton's cruel jibes against us, we have actual kangaroos hopping through the suburbs. Again, this is true, near the lodge. So maybe you could get elected PM and see that.
You've also got all those politicians, though, Sam. Thanks for your time.
They come and they go.
This is a true story. When Paul Keating moved into Kirribilli House, he said to the gardeners, "Why are all these scuff marks in the front lawn?" And the gardener said, "Oh, well, Bob Hawke used to get his 7-iron out and hit golf balls into the harbour."
You're kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, he used to practice his swing.
Just when I thought I couldn't love that man anymore. That's a beautiful story.